Hey guys, I want to talk to you really quick about Mongoose and why I love it and what it does. So, the quick story is that Mongoose takes your low frequencies and collapses them down to mono. The first question people always ask me is, why do I want to do that? So, I'll start with a history lesson. If you listen back to music from the 60s when stereo first was really starting to catch on, you'll notice that the way in which mixes were panned were very different than they are today. You'll hear the bass coming from the left channel only, the drums coming from the right channel, and everything's just sort of extremely panned and very unnatural sounding on headphones. If you listen back on speakers, it sounds great. That hard panning creates a separation that really kind of adds clarity to the mix. But the problem is, you put on headphones and it's almost painful to listen to. Your head kind of wants to turn to the left to follow that bass, but the drums are, and it hurts. And that's why over time, as headphones became more popular, you'd see that people just stopped mixing this way. We kind of created some rules of how you can mix. You keep your bass and your kick drum and your snare in the center and your main vocals in the center, and you pan every other stuff wide. And we've kind of created these rules for ourselves because the listening environment that people are using varies so much. A lot of people are listening on headphones, a lot of people are listening to speakers in their car, in their living rooms. And so we have to cater to all of these different playback environments to make sure it doesn't sound bad on any of them. And that's where these rules have kind of come from. And so that is why I created Mongoose. What Mongoose does is it kind of eliminates a lot of the rules that we have made when it comes to panning. What I usually do is I stick it on my master bus. You can see here it's the last thing, and that's the only thing in my master bus chain right now. But what it does is it takes the low frequencies and it collapses them down to mono. And what that does is it opens up opportunities to be able to pan our tracks in ways that we couldn't do before because of all the different listening environments. So let me give you an example. I have here just a simple track. It's a guitar and a bass. They're both panned in the center. Let me just play it for you really quick. All right, you'll notice that the bass is kind of too loud for the mix, but I just did that to make it so that both instruments are very audible and clear. So, with everything mono, everything sort of sits on top of each other, and so we usually pan stuff to kind of open it up more. In this case, so I'm going to do some kind of extreme, let me bypass Mongoose. In mono, Mongoose isn't going to do anything. It sounds exactly the same. So I'm going to pan the guitar to the right, and I'm going to pan the bass to the left. Sort of a 60s style mixing that you would never hear today. And let's listen. If you're listening on headphones, if you're listening on speakers, you'll kind of hear this. Okay, so we have the guitar coming from the right channel. Bass coming from the left. And a couple things you notice about this is suddenly the bass sounds much more clear, right? You can pick out the attack. It just sounds a lot more clean and separate from the guitar. When they were in mono, let's put it back, there's this kind of muddled together. Right, so panning gives us a separation that makes each instrument sound separate from each other. But at the same time, if you're listening to this on headphones, it's almost painful to hear the bass coming from the left. It's just such an unnatural sound that that's why you never hear anything panned this way anymore. So this is where Mongoose comes in. What it does is it takes those low frequencies and it sticks them right in the center. and keeps the high frequencies wide wherever they were panned. So let's start with just the guitar so you can hear it. This is with Mongoose on. So you can hear the guitar still coming from the right, but if we bypass this, depending on your listening environment, if you're listening on speakers, it's a subtle difference. If you're listening on headphones, it's a pretty huge difference. Having those low frequencies come to the center suddenly makes the guitar feel less like it's coming from inside your head and makes it sound like it's coming from the room. Inside your head. From the room, right? And there's not any spatial stuff going on. It's just panning these low frequencies to the center. Now let's go to the bass and do the same thing. Here's bypassed. And then with Mongoose on. Your bass is still coming from left. It still sounds like it's coming from the left, but your low frequencies have been panned to the center, which kind of make it sound more natural, especially in headphones. And again, on loudspeakers, you may not even hear that much of a difference between it on and off, but on headphones, it's a massive difference. And partly because, like on a 2.1 system, it's already doing that for you. It's taking your stereo channel and it's collapsing it to mono to send to the sub. But it's not able to do that in your headphones. So let's play them both together. We still have that wide pan. But it doesn't have that head turning effect like it does when it's off. Okay, and this is kind of an extreme example. Again, I kind of chose this on purpose to highlight, what it's doing. It doesn't mean you need to start panning your bass to left, but what it does is it opens up new possibilities where you can suddenly pan things in a way you weren't able to do before because of people listening on headphones. And so that is why, for me, Mongoose is one of my favorite plugins. It's so simple to use. This is a plugin that sits in the master bus of every mix I do. And by collapsing these low frequencies down to mono, it just opens up so many possibilities of where I can pan things and what sort of stereo effects I can use without screwing up my mix. So check it out. I think it'll make a big difference for your mixes and open up new possibilities for you. Thank you. Bye.